Here we go, episode 139, Charm City Birdwatch Podcast. I'm your host, Nolan McGraw. Got Jake with me as always. We're going to be talking about the Super Bowl for sure. We're going to be breaking that down. We got predictions. I've also got a couple prop bets here. We did those last year, and I think we've been doing them on the podcast every year. I don't know, but some fun ones. But besides that, and before we get to that, we have quite a bit to get to that happened in terms of the Baltimore landscape. The Orioles, the Ravens making more moves, more things happening in both organizations. And let's start with the Orioles, who last week it was nothing but bad news, it seemed, unless you wanted to say the addition of streaming services for Masson was a good thing. This week, we're back to the good with the Orioles, and this is the most recent piece of news to happen. This was yesterday. Alex Cobb has been traded. Yet another trade between the Orioles and the Angels. Last offseason, it was Dylan Bundy. Earlier this offseason, it was Jose Iglesias. This is the third time they have traded in the last calendar year, I guess. And Alex Cobb is heading there in exchange for a top 10 prospect in the Angel system, second baseman named Jahmai Jones. In order to get him, the important detail in this trade, the Orioles are paying half, so $15 million of Alex Cobb's remaining contract. That's kind of the sweetener on the deal. Initial reactions here, Jake. Alex Cobb on the move. He was here for a couple. What did he come in 2018? It was my birthday. I remember it very well. My birthday, 2018. The Orioles signed Alex Cobb. I thought it was a pretty good birthday gift at the time. Turned out to not be a good gift, but just too injured. You know, he was here for a couple of years, but really only played maybe like a full season's worth of games because he was just injured all the time. So he's on his way out. Orioles get a decent return here. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great that the Orioles are able to, get rid of this contract. I understand that they're going to have to pay, half of Cobb's $15 million salary for 2021 this year, but it's kind of the price you pay when, the idea when they got Cobb is he was going to help this team compete in 2018, and then ever since then it was injuries and the rebuild started. I know I looked at Mr. Jones's, baseball reference minor league system, his stats, and he's played in 3 major league games with the Angels, so not a lot of big league experience. He's got a 234 average with the mobile Bay Bears in 2019. I think that was around 482 at bats. And he's only 23, so as a young guy, they always, of course, need the infield depth. That's the area of their minor league system that needs the biggest boost. So always a good thing to get a young player in return for an expensive veteran. I really liked the Cobb signing at the time because when it happened, the Orioles were still, they had the idea of competing and they still had Jones and Machado on the roster. Cobb was a guy they were very familiar with, facing him in the American League East when he was a member of the Tampa Bay Rays for well over half of a decade, I believe. He was there for a good while. And it never really panned out. He had the blister issues constantly. I think he had like a back and hip injury, and when he was on the field, he was getting clobbered. I think he had one of the worst ground ball to home run rates or whatever those metrics are now. I think he had just a terrible as far as analytics go. But I think something that the Orioles are always going to really be struggling with veteran pitchers, and especially in today's age where it's all about the home runs. It's tough. It's tough for veteran pitchers in their 30s to come to Camden Yards and in a stadium like Camden Yards and have success. So I think the challenge for the Orioles is going to be getting their guys in their system like Grayson Rodriguez, guys like Dean Kramer, Keegan Aiken, all these pitchers they have. They're going to get their success coming from within more so than the veterans that they bring in from the outside. I think a place like California out there, I believe the Angels have a pretty decently sized ballpark. I think maybe going to a place like that might be better for Cobb and his arm at this stage of his career. But I think the Orioles, in terms of how their pitching success is going to go in developing solid starters, I mean, the starter is not as coveted as it used to be because you've got things like openers now and starters aren't going as deep into their games as they used to be. But the Orioles are going to be better off having success, developing their pitchers from within. We emphasize the farm system all the time. It's why it's so important for the Orioles to participate in the international market, which they're finally doing, and making trades, any type of trade they can to get some young value back. I know this guy's not a pitcher, but they will get cheap labor to take Cobb's spot. A veteran will come in here, a veteran or two. I've heard, Elias, and he's trying to talk to some of the free agents out there that can come in and help. And that's great for this year with the Orioles still in the early rebuild phases. But and when you want to talk about where the success and the future of the pitching staff is going to come from, we're talking about way more within than we are of anywhere the Orioles are going to get the outside cheap labor from this offseason, whoever that ends up being.
Yeah, I think you're definitely going to see the Orioles go after basically the same strategy they had last year, bringing a guy like Tommy Malone and see what you can get out of him. And honestly, what they got out of Malone last year was so incredible. They brought in this guy that you were just hoping was going to be a guy that would go out there and give you 5 innings every time, give you a chance, keep your bullpen somewhat in check, and not taxing them night after night after night like we saw the year prior. And he ends up pitching very well, and so well that he ends up getting traded to the Braves at the deadline, and the Orioles get a couple guys in return. So you sign, and he was on a minor league deal. I mean, that's stealing. As far as Cobb here, I mean, this is exactly what I wanted to happen this offseason. I wanted them to trade Alex Cobb, besides cutting Chris Davis, of course. That's the only other thing that I really wanted this offseason, but that's not happening. I wanted them to find a good trade partner for Cobb with a full year left on his contract. I didn't want them to get, into the 2021 season and say, hey, we'll roll the dice here. Let's hope he pitches well, increases his value. We'll deal him at the deadline to a contender that needs one more starter or one more security piece in their bullpen to make a run. There's no guarantee that Alex Cobb is going to be healthy come opening day. I mean, how many times have we seen that? He's going to get a blister. He's going to get roll his ankle. He's going to get nicked up. He's going to cut himself shaving. It's going to be something so stupid, and he's going to miss opening day. And now all of a sudden, there goes all of your hope of increasing his trade value. Now you're pretty much out of luck when it comes to trying to trade him. So this was great by the Orioles. I couldn't be more happy, and very happy that they're eating part of the contract to get a better prospect in return. What's $15 million here to get someone in return? And Jahmai Jones, second baseman, he's major league ready. I mean, he hit the majors last year, like you said, played in 3 games. He could be back in the majors this year. I would expect him to start at AAA, but the Orioles cut bait with Hanser Alberto this offseason. If their plans at second base don't work out, second half of the season, wouldn't be surprised to see Jahmai Jones getting some more at-bats, some more playing time at second base. He's on the cusp of being in the majors, and I don't think his bat is anything crazy. It's nothing special, but his walk rate is pretty nice. Seems to have pretty good plate discipline, which, that's encouraging. That's something that I think will help him transition to the majors, is having good plate discipline. To get a guy that was, number 7 in the Angel system, I don't care how bad their system is, you get someone that's top 10 in someone's system, they're worthwhile, especially when you're giving up Alex Cobb. It's not like you're giving up a lot here. So to get anything of value here is great. I love this move. Could not be more happy with this move. I'll leave it at that.
I honestly could not name what the Orioles starting rotation is going to be right now, so I really don't have that much else to add, if I'm being honest.
Well, we'll see who they add. Like I said, we both think they're going to add another veteran, but I'm very excited to see Keegan Aiken, very excited to see Dean Kramer. Those guys really came on strong at the end of last year. They're definitely going to be in the rotation come opening day. And, of course, John Means, still the guy, probably your opening day starter for sure if he's healthy. He gets that nod. Was supposed to get that nod last year, and then he got injured. So hopefully he will be able to experience being the opening day starter this year. That would be great. So there's three pretty solid guys that you're counting on right there, and they'll fill it out. Maybe a veteran, Jorge Lopez, another name that comes to mind, a guy they acquired last year. That's the Orioles. Let's move on to the Ravens, where things are getting pretty interesting. On Friday, this was last Friday, Orlando Brown Jr. Tweeted out something, and it sent everyone into a frenzy. The rumor mill was on fire. Fan base was freaking out. And I don't have the exact tweet, but basically tweeted something. It was very short, very simple. Said that I am a left tackle, and left tackle was in all caps, making a clear point there. I am a left tackle. I get it. I'll say that much. I understand where he's coming from. He played left tackle in college. Ronnie Stanley gets injured. He steps in, plays left tackle for a majority of the season, does it pretty well. He wants to play left tackle in this league. That's where the big money's at. I don't blame him at all. I don't think that he's a guy that's angry by any means. I think that's something people are a little quick jumping the gun here, and we're so used to seeing guys, start, spouting off on social media, and then that leads to them holding out, or that leads to them being disgruntled and angry with the organization. I have no indication that that's the case with Orlando Brown Jr. I don't think that's his personality. The tweet doesn't bother me at all. I mean, it's disappointing, that he, wants to leave once his contract is up. He doesn't want to be paid to be a right tackle. I'd love him to be the right tackle for years to come on this team if the Ravens could swing that, but it's just not going to be the case. So to me, I'm not really freaking out. A little disappointed because I like him. As far as people talking about, the Ravens have to trade him now and he wants out, and to me, this is pretty simple. I mean, unless he starts, being more vocal and is more adamant about playing left tackle, and all of a sudden he's holding out of training camp or something, or doing something like that, then you would be forced to trade him or find a trade partner. But to me, as it stands right now, he's playing right tackle in 2021, the last year of his rookie deal. Play it out. And when it's, you're in a Super Bowl window right now. You're competing for a Super Bowl. He's a really good tackle. You're hoping you're going to have Ronnie Stanley back, and you're going to be able to anchor your line with those two guys. Protect Lamar Jackson. Also, jumpstart the run game from a run blocking standpoint. Competing for a Super Bowl, you need a guy like Orlando Brown Jr. on the roster. You want a guy like that to play right tackle for you. So I let him play out the rookie deal. I'm not re-signing him, obviously, because he wants left tackle money. I'm not going to pay him that. Someone else will sign him. Ravens get a third-round comp pick in return, most likely. I am by no means trading him before the 2021 season. There are so many other holes on this team. There are other holes on this offensive line. I don't want them to make another one. I mean, they've got question marks at center. They've got question marks at right guard. Why do we need to add a question mark at right tackle? That's just kind of where I stand right now.
Yeah, and that was kind of the assumption as soon as Stanley put pen to paper and inked that long-term contract. As soon as that happened, your mind was going, okay, then they're definitely not re-signing Orlando Brown, because you've already got Lamar Jackson to pay. You've already got Mark Andrews to pay. They paid Marlon Humphrey as well. They obviously need other holes, and who knows who they're going to bring in free agency this offseason, if it's a wide receiver or what have you. So obviously when all this happened, the first assumption was that Brown's not going to be back whenever his contract's up, which is, it's pretty unfortunate because, this guy loves playing at Baltimore. It's a legacy type thing where his father used to play here and he grew up coming to games, watching his dad play. So in terms of, that heartwarming standpoint, you wish that it could have been different, and that, they could have inked him to a long-term deal and kept him in Baltimore for his career. But I think that I think we've said this before. I think there's a strong chance that he goes and makes his money elsewhere and then eventually returns. I could see him, being in a situation where he finishes his career in Baltimore, regardless of how many years that is down the line. I don't really think that the tweet changes anything. I mean, some people have assumed that it might be agent driven. I could easily see that kind of a very simple tweet. Didn't bash anybody, just kind of stated what we already knew, which he's a natural left tackle, and that's what he did in college. You just hope, like you said, you just hope that it doesn't escalate at all, and he starts, getting an attitude about things and deciding to hold out in training camp. Because at the end of the day, I mean, he's still on his rookie contract. I mean, there's nothing to be argued there. I mean, not every player, as much as every NFL player wants this in today's NFL, not every player is going to get a contract before it's time for them to get a contract, if that makes any sense. Some of them have to wait. Is it inconvenient that he's only going to have a half season's worth roughly of game film, assuming that Stanley plays this whole season at left tackle, which is also another huge question mark? I mean, who knows? I mean, he could tear his Achilles week 2, and then Orlando Brown gets 14 games more of film at left tackle for all we know. I'm sure he would like that in terms of increasing his market value. And I have to be honest, like if I had the choice between Stanley and Orlando Brown, like that decision is still way more up in the air for me than I think it is for a lot of people. And it has nothing to do with Stanley's talent. It has everything to do with his ability to stay on the field. That's the one thing I've said time and time again, that I haven't been necessarily a fan of Stanley, is that he's left way too many games and he's gotten injured way too often. And I don't believe, unless I'm wrong, I don't believe Orlando Brown's missed one start due to an injury in his young career yet. So, I kind of worry that the Ravens, I mean, they're going to have to draft another tackle, whether it's this year or next year. I doubt they're going to be able to afford to bring somebody in on a decent contract, unless it's kind of a cheaper option. But, if Brown leaves next year and then Stanley gets another long injury, I mean, then you're down 2 tackles right away. So that's the position you don't want to be in. I do think he's going to be a good sport about it and play out this year. I think a lot of teams around the league, I mean, a lot of teams want to upgrade at left tackle as it is. And a lot of teams know that that's where he played in college, and they have a half season's worth of game film to look at to see how his skill set translates to the left side. So it's not like he doesn't have any of a resume out there in terms of being a left tackle. He absolutely does. And he should be happy that he got that opportunity last year with Stanley going down. But, he just has to keep his cool. You're still competing for a Super Bowl. You still have a chance to do that.
So real quick before we move on to the next thing, what kind of offer could a team give the Ravens right now where you would say, if you're Eric DeCosta, yes, I will trade Orlando Brown Jr.? It's got to be a first rounder and then some, right? For me, like, to fully jump in and trade him without a doubt right now before the 2021 season, I need a first rounder, and I need a first rounder in the top half of the draft. I need a top 15 pick, and I need other picks behind that, maybe like a third rounder and a fourth rounder. I need a lot to pull the trigger right now. So you're going to really have to wow me if I'm Eric DeCosta to get him off my team before 2021.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I mean, you would ideally, at the very least, you would like a first rounder and a third rounder, because I believe Brown was a third rounder in the draft. And if he leaves, I'm assuming the Ravens would get a third round comp pick or somewhere around there. I mean, you would maybe like a first, a third, and then maybe like a sixth or seventh, like something later. But yeah, it would have to really take like you would have to be getting a pretty big return in order for me to make that move. Cause it's, you want it anytime you can get another first round pick, especially if it's in the higher half of the draft. I think it's very hard to turn that down. But if you're getting offered no higher than a second rounder or a third rounder, I'm definitely not entertaining that at all, because those, not every first round pick is guaranteed to be, a starter, let alone a superstar in this league. But you have a much greater chance at a first rounder than you do anything else. I know that there's cases where later round picks hit, but more times than not, those guys end up being average at best, and then most of the time, a lot of these guys are swings and misses. So you're right. I agree. If they even think about entertaining it, it would take at least a first round pick and then some for me.
So speaking of comp picks, the Ravens are going to be getting a few in return here. This is something we got to talk about. David Culley Ravens wide receiver coach, also Harbaugh's right-hand man. He's assistant head coach. If you watched any of the Ravens Wired segments, the mic'd up bench segments, you've probably seen David Culley quite a bit. He's always hyping up his guys. I really enjoyed him on those Wired segments. Like I didn't really know who he was. I knew his name, didn't know much about him. When I looked him up, he's been in the league forever. He was an Andy Reid guy for a long time. Worked with him. Was with the Ravens in 2019 and 2020, and he has like a head coaching personality to me. You could see it in action on the bench. He's always talking to his guys, never quiet, always working with them, coaching them up, and he's the new head coach of the Houston Texans. So congratulations to him. A lot of people are, ripping the Texans for this and everything, and there's plenty to rip the Texans about. That's fair enough, but I don't think this is as terrible of a hire as other people think. Does he have head coaching experience? No. If you want to say that the Texans should have went with Eric Bieniemy or something, I'll listen to that. I'm still curious as to why he doesn't have a head coaching offer. I'm not even going to go into the race thing. It's just the fact that this guy has had how many interviews over the past 2 years? He's had at least 4 or 5 interviews every offseason with bad teams that really just need a big culture change, and he's as proven of a guy as it gets. I'm not trying to go down this Bieniemy road, but it just doesn't make sense. You have that many interviews, don't get one job offer. I don't get it. I really don't get it. So there's that. But David Culley is going to Houston, and he is, while we're on the subject of the Rooney Rule and Bieniemy and all this and the race aspect, he is a minority hire, which means that under a new amendment to the Rooney Rule, which happened last year, I had completely forgotten about this, or amendment to the Rooney Rule rewards teams whose minority candidates are hired away for a head coach or GM position with third-round compensatory picks. So this is similar to a high-talent player or a player that gets paid big money elsewhere. This was added to incentivize teams, not only hiring minorities to be head coaches or in prominent positions, but teams to build them up, work their way and prove themselves in the NFL and incentivize just minority hires in general. I guess I was indifferent about the rule until now, and right now I love it. I'm the biggest proponent of this rule in the world. The Ravens are getting 2 third-round compensatory picks, 1 this year, 1 the following year. This is a blessing for the Ravens, and they could certainly use these compensatory picks because we know they gave up a third-rounder and a fifth-rounder in 2 separate drafts for Yannick Ngakoue. They'll get a third-rounder back here. They might even get another third-rounder compensatory pick this year if Matt Judon walks and gets a big payday in free agency. So they'll be getting some of their draft capital back for sure, which, as we know, is always a great thing.
Yeah, I mean, I will certainly take it. Anytime you're getting it, it's kind of ironic too that I believe that Culley was in some way an assistant head coach to John Harbaugh. It's ironic, I think, that they're losing also the passing game coordinator, whose passing, coordination led to their 32nd ranked passing offense in the NFL this past year. So you're losing that, and then you're getting 2 third-round comp picks back. So yeah, it's an absolute net gain for the Ravens. You're 100% right. With this rule in place, I thought that, I was under the impression that the team that hired the coach was going to get the picks back. But it turns out, like, if you develop these coaches, these minority coaches, and you're responsible for them getting jobs somewhere else, that you receive the benefit in return. It's something that you would like to not be a factor in. And I've always believed, whether it's for a job, for sports, whatever it is, race should not be a determining factor into who gets hired. It should just simply be who has the best resume for the job. I mean, as good as Eric Bieniemy is and how he's worked with Patrick Mahomes and Alex Smith and then the 26,000 other players on the Kansas City offense, that are just superstars in the NFL and everybody's obsessed with now. He's never actually called plays. That's always been Andy Reid. And the interviews is one thing, but if you don't have any actual play calling experience, and hell, I mean, John Harbaugh never really had any either. If that's not going to be part of your resume, it's got to be how you lead a group of men, how you command a room. John Harbaugh clearly has a great ability to do that, and maybe Eric Bieniemy just is kind of a more reserved type guy. Not saying he doesn't deserve a job. I'm sure he will get a job eventually. But when you're in a situation where you haven't called plays and you're not the face of this offense like Andy Reid, it's going to be a tougher hill to climb to get that position. Now, am I certain that David Culley is more qualified than Bieniemy? I have no idea, but I'm thankful that it worked out in the Ravens' benefit here because they're getting 2 extra draft picks, and especially this year, they need that pick.
The Bieniemy thing, like I said, it's confusing to me because I feel like at this point, some desperate team would have hired him without even doing an interview. I mean, with how much this guy gets talked about and praised by Andy Reid, who has just been the past 2-3 years said, yeah, I mean, this guy should be a head coach. I would, I love working with him. He's a huge asset to our team, but I'd love to see him be a head coach. All of the players that have played for him want him to be a head coach. People that haven't played for him that just respect him around the league. This guy gets talked about so much. And there's not one team, the Jets or, whoever, and look, they have hired their guy who is well respected in his own right from San Francisco, but some team, some bottom feeder out there that's just so desperate for a jump start, something to get excited about, would just hire this guy off of how much he gets talked about. But there's got to be there's just something about him that we don't know maybe. And it's got to be a behind closed doors thing. When he goes into these interviews, is he just awful? Is he just the worst interviewer in the world? I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me. And it can't be a minority thing. I don't think it's a race thing because David Culley gets hired. Other minority coaches get hired. What's the difference with Bieniemy? I'm not making any sweeping statements. I'm just genuinely confused. That's where I'm at with him.
We know what it is. I mean, part of this too is everybody and their mom is obsessed with the Chiefs now. They all love the Chiefs. So whenever something is not going to work out where it comes from the Chiefs, I think there's going to be an uproar because of how successful they've been. That might be a small part of it too.
Right, but I mean that's my point about some bad team. What do you have to lose if you're the Jets or just one of these just terrible teams that is consistently a loser? What do you have to lose by bringing in a guy like Eric Bieniemy? Get a little spark. Players would love it. Fan base would probably be in favor of it. This is a guy that's highly touted, as highly touted as they come. We got this guy coming in here. Let's see what happens. If it doesn't work out, we're in the same spot we were before we hired him. We're not worse off. Let's move on here. Super Bowl preview. And let's start with some Super Bowl prop bets. So I got a couple of these. They're all pretty lighthearted here. There's only one that's actually game related. I'll say that. Start with the coin toss, the first one, unless, I don't know, national anthem might come first. I don't know. I don't have any national anthem props here, but you can always bet on that, how long it's going to be. But I love the coin toss. Get your night going with a true 50-50 bet. But if you want some advanced analytics here on the coin toss, I've got you covered. I believe I brought this up last year, but it still stands here. 6 of the last 7 Super Bowl coin tosses have resulted in tails. How about that? Tails has been on a hot streak. But before that, and if you think tails is the way to go, before that, should know that the previous 5 years before that streak started for tails, heads won 5 years in a row. So the coin toss has been very streaky. The tails goes on a run, heads was on a run. It's not as back and forth as you might expect. So there's your advanced analytics on the coin toss. Jake, where are you going, heads or tails?
I feel like, I don't know if I'm correct on this, but I feel like in the past I've used like the go-to like tails never fails catchphrase. So I'm going to actually divert away from that and go heads. I think we're due for heads. we're turning the corner here into 2021. The vaccine for the coronavirus is on the way. It's a new day, Nolan. So I think we're gonna go heads here. I don't know if a new streak is in the cards, but I think we at least get a little change up and have good old George Washington show up on the quarter, if it is a quarter, or if it's probably an NFL coin. But heads is going to be the victor here on Sunday.
All right, and I am also a big proponent of tails never fails, and that's why I'm rolling with tails never fails. I'm going with it.
See, I didn't want to steal it from you.
No, we're stealing it from other people for sure. But every coin toss, it's always tails for me. I am expecting tails. And I was trying to find some deep link here between Tom Brady and coin tosses, but I couldn't find a sweeping claim. For a second, I thought that every time they won a Super Bowl, every time Brady had won a Super Bowl, the coin toss had been tails, but that was not the case. I think their first Super Bowl win, it was not. But all the other ones, so I think 5 of his 6 Super Bowl wins, the coin toss has been tails, and all of his losses have been heads. So maybe if you think the Bucs are going to win this game, if you really feel strongly about that, maybe go with tails. I don't know. Just something to think about. Next one here is the Gatorade shower at the end. What color is the Gatorade? The favorite here at plus 160 odds is orange, and that's probably because last year when the Chiefs won, they had orange Gatorade. So you're assuming that you already know what one color is ahead of time. You're assuming the Chiefs are just an orange Gatorade team, and that's probably why it's the favorite. So I would probably go with that one, but some other ones here, you got red at plus 200, lemon lime green at plus 275, and then clear, which I guess is just water, or blue and purple or some
white cherry.
I didn't know that. Some wild card picks there. Blue, purple, really good odds. Do you have a lean here? I'm going to go orange just because I know that's what the Chiefs are using. So if they win, that's pretty much a lock.
Yeah, I mean, if not to get too far ahead, but I said this on last week's show, I am picking the Chiefs. So assuming that, they do win, it'll probably be the same color it was last year. And in that case being orange. So I'll take orange with that too. And any grocery related questions that have to do with prop bets, considering I work at Giant now, that's why I know all the different Gatorade flavors, is that I'm in the aisles every day. So I'm well diverse in any grocery products that have to do with prop bets.
And for the longest time, I thought the team color was the way to go. Why would the team would just pick the Gatorade that corresponds with their team colors? That's not the case. Ravens don't use purple Gatorade. I think it might have something to do, because we were talking about this, and I worked one of my coworkers at FedEx over the summer last year. Some of the coloring, like in the blue and purple Gatorade, like those dark colors, even red, are much heavier than like the orange and the lighter colors like yellow. So I feel like athletes in some of these games, I mean, let alone the fact that blue Gatorade makes your entire mouth turn blue, but due to the density of some of the colorings in terms of keeping the electrolytes and all the science that goes into it, I think the lighter Gatorades, the shades of Gatorades that are lighter colored are better for athletes when they're playing in big games. That would make sense to me.
A lot of science behind it.
We love that. We love the analytics here. Halftime show. The Weeknd is performing. I've just got just one here, and this one seems odd to me. I don't know where you can get this, but this was on where did I get these from? Oddsshark.com. They've always got fun ones. I guess you can bet on there if you want, but I have not seen this on like FanDuel or DraftKings or anything, so I don't know if this is something you can get everywhere. But over-under on wardrobe changes for the Weeknd at the halftime show. This just feels like a steal. The over-under is set at 0.5, so one wardrobe change hits the over. Now the odds are, expecting that to be the case. It's minus 380, not a great return there, but this is a gimme. I mean, when has there been a halftime show without a wardrobe change or removing, an outer layer, a coat or something to reveal, something else?
We saw a lot of that last year.
Did. But, even the male performers, I mean, Prince, I'm sure he had wardrobe changes, and I'm sure the Weeknd will have something going on. So this one seems like easy money. If you're willing to put down a large chunk of change to make the odds worth it, this just seems like a gimme. But again, I have not seen this in prominent betting places. This might just be a fun little talking point on Odds Shark, but I thought that was interesting.
I'm going to go with 1. And, we're in a very restricted time right now. We don't want any cross-contamination between clothing items. So I think the wardrobe change will be very minimal this year. I still think there will be 1, but that's what I'm going with. And I won't be watching the halftime show with a close eye anyway, but I'm just hoping that the weekend's outfits are not nearly as loose as what we saw from Jennifer Lopez last year.
Yeah, and then there's always, you can bet on what song is first, what song is last, is someone else going to make a surprise appearance? There's all kinds of stuff. There's odds on Drake showing up if you want that. If you like that, hop on that. Last one I have here, Super Bowl MVP. Your favorites are the quarterbacks. Mahomes is even money, or maybe even less than that at this point. But I have even money here, plus 100. Tom Brady plus 225. That's pretty good. You're thinking basically this comes down to which team do you think is going to win. But if you want a non-quarterback pick, which does happen every once in a while, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill are the favorites. Sleeper pick, Leonard Fournette. Sleeper pick. If the Bucs win and Tom Brady has an abysmal day, I still wouldn't be surprised to see him win MVP just because, he's the GOAT, and this would be ring number 7 and first year with the Bucs. They just give it to him. But if Leonard Fournette scores all of their touchdowns and Brady throws a couple picks, maybe Leonard Fournette wins it. I don't know. He's got great odds. He's plus 2,500 or something. So, I'm picking spoiler here when we get into our picks. I think the Bucs are going to win the game. So plus 225 for Tom Brady to win MVP. That's pretty good. I might actually, if I'm putting my money somewhere on this game, I think I would put money on Tom Brady to win Super Bowl MVP.
I'm picking Eric Bieniemy. No, I'm going to go with Mahomes. I mean, it's Pat Mahomes' world, and we're just living in it. He might have to come up with some more heroics because he's not going to have his left tackle, Eric Fisher, who of course tore his Achilles in the AFC Championship game. I think that's a underlying storyline is how, well, I guess not really. It's pretty prominent is how they're going to hold up the left side of that line against, a Buccaneers defense that's got 7 sacks in the playoffs, and they finished 4th in sacks throughout the regular season. So, if Mahomes is going to have to earn that MVP, he might have to dance around a little bit to get it. But, I know it's the cop out. I know it's the easy pick, but with, as magical as Mahomes has been, lately, I can't pick against him right now. But, I could see, if he's getting hit a lot and has to make a lot of short throws and get the ball out quickly, I could see Kelce or Tyreek Hill getting it. But I'm going to go Mahomes.
So this will transition well into our preview, and your points there kind of are how I feel. It's, we like the quarterback versus quarterback aspect, but this is front 7 versus front 7 in my mind. The Tampa Bay front has been wreaking havoc recently. They've been doing a very good job, getting after opposing quarterbacks and stopping the run, too. I mean, they've been shutting down the run better than anyone. So that'll be an interesting thing to keep an eye on. And conversely, you talk about the Chiefs defense, not the best defense. They've got star power with Matthew and others, but their front 7, they can get after you. And they were all over Josh Allen 2 weeks ago. I mean, they were a huge force in that game. I mean, Mahomes, the offense, they were spectacular. 21 unanswered points, and then they ran away with it. But that defense and the pass rush they generated against the Bills was really what sealed that game for me. So this will be interesting. Which quarterback is under duress more? Does it lead to key mistakes? Turnovers in the Super Bowl, they weigh even heavier. We'll see what happens. Tom Brady threw 3 picks last week or 2 weeks ago against Green Bay. Can he clean up the mistakes? And another thing here, Pat Mahomes, not his first Super Bowl. He played last year, but if you look back to last year's game, Mahomes and the Chiefs offense did not get off to a hot start at all. I mean, they were very mediocre at best in the first half, and then they put some things together in the second half and were able to win and come back. But maybe some nerves were a factor in the first half. I don't know. But will Mahomes and the Chiefs offense start much hotter this year than they did last year? Those are some of my questions. Anything else you're looking at here, matchup-wise?
I mean, I do think it's going to be interesting. And I know, the Chiefs and Mahomes especially didn't play the best in the Super Bowl last year until the second half started kicking around, and then he came alive and was able to bring him back. I do think that in terms of coming out hot, I think the Chiefs might be less nervous than the Bucs going in. I mean, we got to forget the Buccaneers are still, Tom Brady aside, very inexperienced postseason big game team compared to who we've seen in big games over the last few years. And not to say that, they're going to be completely off, they're going to be completely nervous and crapping their pants, because, I mean, I think just Brady's presence there has given that team a lot of confidence, because Brady's told them time and time again that he believes they can compete with anybody. And I think this team does believe they can do that. Guys like Brady, guys like Gronkowski, this is just another game for them. Like, they've been in this situation so many times, they know how to handle it. But those other guys on the team that haven't been in this position before, I think they might start a little slow. The Buccaneers will, but I think they will heat up as the game goes on. The question just becomes, if the Chiefs do start out hot and there are a little bit of jitters on the other sideline, do the Buccaneers let the game spiral out of control from there? Injury-wise, I mean, especially on the offensive side for both teams, I mean, Antonio Brown, Sammy Watkins, and Le'Veon Bell are dealing with different injuries to their legs and knees. Demarcus Robinson and backup center Daniel Kilgore on the Chiefs were put on the COVID list as close contacts, but they could still come back on Sunday. But it looks like the Chiefs are missing a little bit more right now than what the Buccaneers are. So in terms of matchups, maybe the Buccaneers are favored a little bit there. Both of these offenses, though, they're just absolutely loaded. Everywhere you look, it doesn't matter. They're just absolutely stacked. So I think it's going to be an extremely fun game to watch. And it's hard to pick. I mean, I like your pick with the Buccaneers as well, because I think their defense is better than Kansas City. So, I mean, a lot of it could come out to, or could come down to who gets the better start. And I just think Kansas City is going to get a better start, and the Buccaneers are going to struggle to keep up. I'm going 30-24 Kansas City. But I am, I will be the biggest, Tom Brady fan on Sunday. I might even go buy some avocados at the store on Sunday and consume them before the game just for good luck, even though I don't like avocados by themselves. I like them in salads, but I might do that just to help me feel better about the Bucs' chances.
You're not going to go on the TB12 method. You're going to go on a full TB12 diet this week to ensure that the Tom Brady wins.
I got it. I don't have the self-discipline to do a whole week of the TB12 diet, but I could. And Tyler and I, we're going to watch the game. We're already going to get takeout. So I know during the game I won't be eating great, but at least before I can make myself feel a little bit better and maybe get some avocados.
Sounds good. I'm picking the Bucs, as I said before. I'm going to be rooting for them anyway in this one. But I do think they pull it out. The game will be close. I mean, I know that much. I think we're in for a great game. A shootout would be really exciting. I talked about the defenses there, but if the defenses take a day off and we just get like both teams scoring 40 plus, Mahomes versus Brady, the old man, the old GOAT versus the new gunslinger in a shootout, that would be amazing. I just hope we get like some iconic moment, a great finish that we can talk about for years and years and years. That's really all I want. And an important thing to note here, as far as Tom Brady and all those years going to the Super Bowl with the Patriots, always a close game. Whether they won or lost, always a close game. And the last time he went to the Super Bowl, 2018, the Patriots beat the Rams. That was the largest margin of victory for Tom Brady and the Patriots in a Super Bowl. They won 13-3. The 10 points was their largest margin of victory. Every other win and loss was within, I believe, one possession. 8 points, 7 points, usually less than that. So, Brady, he's got the experience. Like you said, this is just another game to him. The high-pressure situations don't really faze him, but, I mean, every time he's in a Super Bowl, it always comes down to the wire. You know, the losses, it always comes down to the end of the game. So I'm expecting a really exciting one here. And I don't have a score, unfortunately, but I am picking the Bucs. One last thing here. We'll end on this because this just popped into my head as I was typing my notes, and I think I'm ready to transition to a job at ESPN or Fox Sports 1 with a question like this. Tom Brady going for 7 rings, Mahomes going for back-to-back, just like Brady started his career with. Who needs this win more, Jake? Mahomes or Brady? Who needs this? Who needs this for their legacy, their career?
Well, I mean, who needs it more?
Yeah.
I guess
because we both know they need it so bad.
They do. They really do. I need it too. Regardless of who wins, I just need to see one of them win. I guess Mahomes, because if we keep making this argument, or the argument that I keep hearing, that after watching him play for only 3 seasons, that Mahomes is God's greatest gift in terms of the quarterback position that we've ever seen. If we're going to call him the best ever, and if he's going to deserve that nod, I think he needs it more so that he can try to catch up to 6 championships with Brady. Brady, in my mind, has already, cemented his legacy as the best quarterback ever, the most successful quarterback ever. Mechanically, I don't know if he's the best ever, but definitely in terms of his resume and all of his accomplishments, he's the best ever. He has nothing else to prove to me on that front. But Mahomes, as much as good as I've seen from him, I'm not ready to put him in that tier yet because he just doesn't have the Super Bowl resume that Brady does. So I guess Mahomes technically needs it more, but you wouldn't think that judging on what you hear every day in the media.
Right. I think I would say Mahomes too. But for Brady, it seems so obvious. You're saying 6 rings. I mean, he's already the GOAT. What does it matter? But this whole narrative about, was it him or Bill Belichick, which I said last week was the stupidest thing in the world, but we are talking ESPN, Fox Sports 1 here. We're getting into that mindset. So I think you could argue if he falls short here, it's going to be that, he had a chance to really cement his legacy as the greatest even further by winning with another team in his first year with that team, a team that was not a playoff team prior to him, not even close to a Super Bowl contender until he showed up. To take them from no playoff appearance to a Super Bowl win would be just the cherry on top of that cake for his legacy. But then Mahomes, I would go with him because, he's trying to win back-to-back, and if he's going to catch Brady and win 6 or more than 6 in his career, which would be insane, when you're in the Super Bowl, you got to win them. So, and if he could win back-to-back, that would also, look out. You thought the comparisons were bad now. If he wins back-to-back Super Bowls like Brady did early in his career, look out. It's going to be an off-season of Mahomes is going to be Brady. He's going to win all these Super Bowls. They may never lose again, blah, 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 blah. It's going to be nauseating. But I will say that Pat Mahomes needs this more. That's my conclusion. And that'll do it. That's episode 139. Next week, full recap of the Super Bowl, any other nonsense that happens, the halftime show, whatever. Somebody's going to screw up the national anthem. Who knows? Always some fun stuff going on. The commercials, keep an eye out. What's your favorite commercial? We'll talk about that. That'll be on episode 140. And, of course, any other happenings with the Orioles, with the Ravens, we'll be all over it. Jake, thanks as always for joining me. And thank the listeners, as always, for joining us. And we'll be here next week. Talk to you then.